Now, we're going to get into Lorenzo de' Medici in a minute. Because this is a good historic book. I'm reading the Bible and I'm like, look at all these people, names and dates. I don't know what the hell. Who the hell is doing what and what is doing. So how many are the kinds of principalities and in what modes are they acquired? In the very beginning, he talks about either you have a hereditary principality, which means you were given it to, by the king or whoever. It's just hereditary. So hereditary succession, since, the prince has been raping chambermaids, apparently that makes him qualified to be the new king. So in the very beginning, you had Machiavelli make a distinction. Machiavelli had made a distinction between hereditary principalities, ones that are just inherited, and he actually says that those are easier to hold on to. And he makes the example, not in chapter 1, but in chapter 2, of the dukes of Ferrara. He only talks about them as if they're one duke, but there is two dukes. There is Ercole de' Este and his son Alfonso de' Este. So he says, because their dominion, their hereditary line of succession was so entrenched and it happened, for such a long time, that in spite of the attacks of the Venetians in 1484, and in spite of those of Pope Julius in 1510, so apparently Pope Julius Pope Julius took Alfonso's state temporarily, deprived him of his principality in 1510, but he was able to get it back. And then Ercole was defeated by the Venetians in 1848, but he was able to get his kingdom back too. And so the Duke of Ferrara, because they had hereditary principalities, because throughout the long time, right, who controls this land? Well, it's been Bob Smith and Bob Smith's children. That's hereditary, right? The Smiths have always been in power, so the Smiths will always be in power. Now, the very first name that Niccolo Machiavelli talks about is Francesca Sforza. So who the fuck is this Francesca Sforza? Francesca Sforza? Never heard no Francesca Sforza. So Francesca Sforza is the Duke of Milan. So after Filippo Maria Visconti, the Duke of Milan, died without a male heir in 1447, so yeah, what happens with that hereditary succession? The king didn't even have a damn kid, or he didn't have a male heir, and apparently they were sexist back in the 1400s, so fighting broke out to restore the so-called Ambrosian Republic. The name Ambrosian Republic takes its name from St. Ambrose, the patron saint of Milan. And then Agnese del Mano, his wife's mother, convinced the condottiero who held Pavia to restore it to him. So Francesco Sforza, who the fuck is Francesco Sforza? He's just a fucking guy. He's just some guy. He was actually the one of 7 illegitimate children. So talk about a rags to riches story. One of 7 illegitimate children. So he's going to take Milan, and according to the prince, this is a completely brand new principality. It's altogether new. So Francesca Sforza founded the Sforza dynasty. There's a Sforza castle still today. It's a museum in the Duchy of Milan. Alessandro is Francesca Sforza's brother. And like I said, he's one of 7 illegitimate sons of Muzio Sforza. What the hell, Muzio Sforza? You had 7 illegitimate sons. That's too many. Eventually, they're not illegitimate. Those are your sons. If you have 7 illegitimate, they're your sons, okay? But she's the mistress. No, that's more your wife. You had 7 kids with her and just, okay, that's your wife. Common law. So the passage in the prince is this, okay? This is just the very beginning. How many are the modes of principalities, and in what modes they are acquired? All states, all dominions that have held and do hold empire over men have been and are either republics or principalities. So he's going to put republics off for the, off to the side for now. The principalities are either hereditary, in which the bloodline of the Lord has been their prince for a long time, or they are new. And the new ones are either altogether new, as was Milan to Francesca Sforza, or they are like members added to the hereditary state of the prince who acquires them, as is the kingdom of Naples to the king of Spain. So he's saying they're either completely new, or they're new to the hereditary state. So the king of Spain, this asshole, he's going to get the kingdom of Naples. Apparently they signed some agreement, Ferdinand the Catholic. He agreed by a treaty 1500 to share the kingdom of Naples with France, Louis XII. But 1504 came around and Ferdinand the Catholic was like, you know what, that agreement is kind of bullshit, drove the French out of 1504, took the kingdom of Naples, and then gave the kingdom, or took the kingdom of Naples for the kingdom of Spain. So, that's the two, right? You got Francesca Sforza, and then you got kingdom of Naples, the king of Spain. So you got Ferdinand the Catholic, Francesca Sforza, and then in the very beginning, the dedicatory letter, Niccolo Machiavelli, he writes to the magnificent Lorenzo de' Medici. The magnificent Lorenzo de' Medici. De' Medici, there's 4 popes. There's 4 Medici popes. So, I guess in the 1500s, being the Pope was just all about a power grab. It had nothing to do with, you know, whatever, Jesus and that shit, right? Just had to do, God, if you're the Pope, then you have all the power. Because how's one family continue to be the Pope? One family continues to be the Pope? That sounds like a dynasty. That sounds like power that's corrupted. So, of hereditary principalities, okay, then he goes on about whatever. Dominions, either they're used to living under a prince or they're used to being free. That's important. If they're used to being under a prince, and a new prince will be able to conquer them. If they're used to being free, well, you probably have to respect that, right? And they're acquired either with the arms of others or with their own arms, either by fortune or by virtue. So I want to talk about this family, this Francesca Sforza. Who the hell is Francesca? So he's going to sit there and say, right, that you have principalities that are hereditary or some are altogether new, right? They're hereditary, which the bloodline of their lord has been their prince for a long time. So the bloodline's hereditary. That's how kings and queens and the royal families, this is all European bullshit. That's why I like the American Revolution. Don't have to worry about no fucking dukes. Don't have to worry about a goddamn duke. What, the Duke of Earl? Fun song. Don't mean you got any jurisdiction. They ain't got no authority. So how many are the kinds of principalities and what modes are they acquired in the very first chapter? So we have 4 names to look at. I'll get to Lorenzo de' Medici. Francesca Sforza is up, and then Ferdinand the Catholic, and also the Duke of Ferrara, the Venetians, and Pope Julius is going to be mentioned later on. But we're going to just stick with Sforza. So who the hell is this Sforza guy? Well, I just told you Sforza is going to become Duke of Milan in 1950. He's actually going to be picked by the city senate after there's famine and riots. So, for the longest time, though, you had this Filippo Maria Visconti for 35 years. He was the Duke of Milan. He died without a male heir in 1447. And so you have, essentially, I guess, just to make it easy, you had a father. Then he had the empire or whatever, the Duke of Milan. He was the Duke of Milan for 7 years. And then you had a brother who was the Duke of Milan for 10 years. And then you had the second brother, who's the Duke of Milan, and this is Filippo Maria Visconti. And so what I'm looking at is seeing it as if Francesca Sforza, right? He's an illegitimate child of this Muzio Sforza, this, you know, this piece of shit Muzio. So Muzio Sforza has 7 illegitimate sons, but Francesca Sforza was able to make something out of himself. And so it looks like the history of Machiavelli is good. It looks like the history of Machiavelli is good. So you had the father, the Gian Galeazzo Visconti, right? This is, let's see, Visconti, and then Visconti. So 3 Viscontis in a row, but the last 2 were both Maria. So you had Filippo Maria Visconti, and then his brother was Gian Maria Visconti. But the father was Gian Galeazzo Visconti, not Maria. A little bit about the father, Gian Galeazzo Visconti. During his patronage of the Visconti Castle, he contributed to the growth of the collection of scientific treatises, richly illuminated manuscripts in the Visconti Library. Gian Galeazzo, the son of Galeazzo, the second Visconti, and Bianca of Savoy. His father possessed the signoria of the city of Pavia. In 1385, Gian Galeazzo gained control of Milan by overthrowing his uncle Bernabo through treacherous means by faking a religious conversion and ambushing him during a religious procession in Milan. Hey, can we just do a religious procession? Now you're sacked. He imprisoned his uncle. This is the father, Gian Galeazzo. Imprisoned his uncle, then he soon died, apparently poisoned by Gian Galeazzo's orders. And so, a lot of people want to say Machiavellian is just to be cruel. Cruelty by itself isn't going to get you nowhere, right? So there's Gian Galeazzo Visconti, right? This is the bloodlines, the father. He's going to take it from the uncle. So it had the uncle, right? Still in the family, still the same bloodlines. But then he's going to die, the father, because people die. And the first brother, Gian Maria Visconti, he's going to rule Milan for 10 years from 1402 to 1412. So for 55 years, these Viscontis held Milan. They were the Duke of Milan. And because the last brother, Filippo Maria Visconti, had died without one, so I want to get through all these details and then just kind of conclude. So, the first brother is going to get assassinated. Gian Maria Visconti is going to get assassinated, 1402 to 1412. A plot by the party of the Milanese Ghibellines was raised against the Duke when Faustino Cane was ill in Pavia, and Gian Maria was assassinated in front of the church of San Gottardo in Milan. So Gian Maria, the brother, is going to get assassinated while the dying Faustino had his officers swear to support Filippo Maria, Gian Maria's brother, who is the one who did succeed him. So the father has Milan for 7 years, Gian Galeazzo Visconti. He has Milan for 7 years, up until 1402, the turn of the century. Then the son, Gian Maria Visconti, is going to have Milan. He's going to be the Duke of Milan for 10 years, 1402 to 1412. He's going to get assassinated, and then they're going to pass the ball on to Filippo Maria Visconti, who rules Milan, the Duke of Milan, for 35 years, 1412 to 1447. So is the prince right? The prince is correct. Yes, there is no hereditary whatsoever for this Sforza. This Francesca Sforza just comes out of the blue. He just comes in like a wrecking ball. So he's got a brand new principality, right? Francesca Sforza now runs Milan, and he was able to take it over in 1950. Right? 1950, you had, the 1447. He dies 3 years later. The city senate is going to entrust him with the duchy. 1450, after years of famine, riots raged in the streets of Milan. Sforza, Francesca Sforza, is going to enter the city of Milan as a duke. February 26th, first time that such a title was handed over by a lay institution. While the other Italian states gradually recognized Sforza as a legitimate Duke of Milan, he was never able to actually get it from the Holy Roman Empire till later on, 1494, after Sforza had actually, basically Sforza wipes out the Visconti bloodlines. Who's the hereditary leaders? Well, he died. There was no leader to follow up, and apparently the city senate, I guess they voted, right? So a small government body voted to get a CEO, to get a city manager to control Milan. And that new city manager is Francesca Sforza. Francesca Sforza. So yes, he is a brand new prince with a brand new principality. He has absolutely no bloodlines, no namesakes whatsoever. So, let's see. He was cruel, right? This Filippo Maria Visconti was cruel, paranoid, extremely sensitive about being ugly. So, Filippo Maria Visconti says, don't look at my ugliness. He was nevertheless a great politician, and by employing such powerful condottieri as Carmagnola, Piccanino, who unsuccessfully led his troops at the Battle of Anghiari, 1440, and Francesco Sforza, he managed to recover the Lombard portion of his father's duchy. So there you go. For 55 years, you had Visconti, and then in 1450, you had Sforza. Sforza comes in like a wrecking ball. He's completely brand new. He's the son of an illegitimate, he's not royalty, right? He's not in a royal family. And so far, yeah. So far, so good. This one little sentence. The new ones are all either altogether new, as was Milan to Francesca Sforza. Half of that sentence is true. The other half, I guess we'll have to carry on. We'll have to find out later. Let's see. I got a couple notes here. Let's just make sure we talk about the Sforzas. Sforzas, it means force. Sforzas. He was the third or the fourth Duke of Milan, founded the Sforza dynasty in the Duchy of Milan. Alessandro is his brother. See, Lorenzo Medici, that was the third. So he wrote to the King Ferdinand of Spain, took over Naples. That was hereditary. There was 2 Dukes of Ferrara. There have been 4 Medici popes. So, let's see. Okay. So what's the conclusion, right? So Francesca Sforza, he's going to be the Duke right in February 26, 1450. Now Milan is his. And he is brand new. He's going to be best friends with Cosimo de' Medici. The Medicis are all over the fucking place in the 1500s Italian history. So there was a little hereditary connection. There was a tiny hereditary connection. You had Francesca Sforza. He had actually married Bianca, the daughter of Filippo, so he was a son-in-law. So he had married to the bloodline. He'd been married to the bloodlines without having any blood himself. So there was kind of a claim to Milan, kind of respect for its previous bloodline, by marriage. But he wasn't royal family. He had no royal blood. In fact, his own father he was illegitimate. His father didn't even claim him. He was an orphan bastard. So, he was a mercenary captain, acquired Milan by betraying and overthrowing the Ambrosian Republic of Milan in 1450. So, they said he overthrows it here. This is just notes. But it said that the city senate had picked him. So, it feels like to me that the Sforza, he's, just waiting in the lobby. He's like, Biden or whatever, just biding time, just waiting around in the lobby, waiting for his moment, and raises his hand, and then he gets the power. So Sforza's power, there's a little hereditary connection by marriage, but not direct bloodlines. He's an orphan bastard. His power came by appointment by the city senate. Milan's senate had voted him duke after the famine and the riots of 1450. So, in spite of 55 years of the same bloodline, right, father 7 years, brother 10 years, and then the second brother 35 years, which is 52 years total. 1447, he's going to die of 3 years of tumultuous bullshit. Then eventually you get the Duke of Milan. You get Francesca Sforza, who comes in 1450 to rescue Milan. And what kind of leader was he? Well, he was cruel and paranoid, and he managed to recover the Lombard position of his father's duchy. So, okay, not too many successes there. So, I'm with Milan. Give it to Francesca Sforza. These Viscontis they've had it for 55 years. What the fuck have they done with it? For 55 years, what the fuck have they done? Anything else? Let's see. Visconti died. The fight about the Ambrosian Republic, 1447. Yeah, I guess that's it. Duke of Milan. Duke of Milan. Duke of Milan. Francesca Sforza. So, good history so far. Niccolo Machiavelli. Peace.